Today we are going to talk about something that we all deal with at one point or another, procrastination. You know that feeling when you keep putting things off, even though you know you should be getting them done, and then you beat yourself up for it. It's all too familiar, right? Procrastination isn't about laziness or poor discipline. It can stem from something much deeper. In today's episode, we are going to explore some myths and misconceptions about procrastination and get to the root of why it happens. This is something I recently learned from Zen Cryar DeBrooke, the author of Your Inner GPS, Follow Your Internal Guidance to Optimal Health, Happiness, and Satisfaction. And when I learned 4 reasons why we procrastinate on something from Zen, it was really eye-opening, and I believe that this information can be incredibly valuable for many of you tuning in, so I created this episode to share what I've learned. And if you ever found yourself stuck in the procrastination trap and want to break free, you are in the right place. So let's get to it. So first, let's unpack some common misconceptions about procrastination. So misconception 1, procrastination is a sign of laziness. People often believe that if you procrastinate, it's simply because you are too lazy to get started. And misconception 2, procrastinators are disorganized. And it's commonly assumed that those people who procrastinate lack the skills to keep their task in order. And misconception 3, procrastination comes from lack of motivation. Many people think that procrastinators just aren't motivated enough to take actions on their goals. And misconception 4, if you want it badly enough, you wouldn't procrastinate. And there is a belief that the desire to succeed should remove any tendency to procrastinate. So if you are not taking action, people say, that's not something that you really want. Otherwise, you would be taking actions. And misconception 5, procrastination means you're wasting time on trivial activities. People often think that when someone procrastinates, they are simply filling their time with unimportant tasks instead of focusing on what really matters. Procrastination is actually a closing energy. It constricts us rather than allowing us to expand. And as Zen explains, when you have this closing energy in your body, what you're thinking is not true or it's not going to happen. So if you want to know how to tap into your inner guidance system, listen to my episode 67, the previous episode, where I talk about Zen's work, and you will gain better understanding of how to listen to your inner guidance system. So now let's explore 4 reasons you procrastinate according to Zen. Number 1, things that you procrastinate on, it doesn't need to happen at all. So she says that things that we procrastinate on don't need to happen at all. So sometimes we spend our time and energy on tasks that aren't really necessary or important. Our minds can trick us thinking that these tasks must be done, but in reality, they don't have to be. This can lead to feeling stressed or overwhelmed, and stress and overwhelm are closing energy. So whatever you are thinking that causes you stress or overwhelm is not true, and it's not going to happen. So for example, you might be feeling like you need to tidy up your garage and clean your closet, or file away paperwork. Your mind tells you that these tasks have to be completed, but in reality, they don't need to be done. Number 2, it's not yours to do, it's someone else's to do. So sometimes we feel the urge to take on tasks that actually belong to someone else. You are not the one responsible for it, even if your mind thinks you should be the one to do it, but it's not. Let's say you have organized the storage room on your to-do list and you've been procrastinating for a long time. But a lot of things actually belong to your partner. So if you go ahead and reorganize everything in the storage room, they might not know where their things are, and you might accidentally throw out items that they actually need. So sometimes it's not yours to do. And number 3, the timing is not right for you. So sometimes timing isn't just right for you to take actions on a task or project. This is why you procrastinate. And you may dread the task and keep procrastinating, but then one day you wake up and feeling ready and tackle it with more focus and less effort. Imagine you need to write a report for work, and at first you feel overwhelmed and keep putting it off, thinking about how difficult it'll be. Then after a few days, you wake up one morning with a fresh perspective and a clear mind, and suddenly the words flow easily and you complete the report much faster than you expected. This shift in timing can make all difference. By recognizing that sometimes you just need to wait for the right moment, you can avoid the stress of forcing yourself to act before you are truly ready. And number 4, your mind is making it more complicated than it needs to be. Your mind often complicates tasks that need to be done too complicated and too difficult. Your mind might think that everything that needs to be done, which can lead to procrastination. So think about exercising. Your mind might tell yourself you need to spend an hour at the gym or follow some fancy workout plan to make it count. But the truth is, you can just start with 5-10 minutes of something easy, like taking a walk or doing some stretches at home. Keeping it simple like that, making it way easier to get to the routine. Plus, those little efforts can really add up over time. So now that we've unpacked some common misconceptions about procrastination and explored why it happens, I want to encourage you to take a moment for some self-reflections. So go ahead and write down 5 or 10 things you've been procrastinating on. This could be anything from work project to clean out a closet or even reaching out to a friend. Once you have your list, take a closer look at each item and ask yourself these 4 questions. So question 1, is this task really necessary? Number 2, does this belong to someone else or is it mine to do? And number 3, is the timing right for me to take action on this? Number 4, am I making this more complicated than it needs to be? And as you ask these questions on each task, notice how each task makes you feel. Do you feel closed or constricted in your body, or do you feel open and expanded? By tuning into your internal response rather than just relying on your thinking mind, you can start to see whether each task is opening or closing you off. Tasks that feel heavy or burdensome may be closing you in, while those that excite or energize you can be seen as opening. So as we wrap up today's episode, remember that procrastination is not a bad thing. By understanding the deeper reason behind your procrastination, and you can cultivate greater self-awareness and make choices that align with your inner guidance system instead of coming from your thinking mind. Next time you find yourself caught in the procrastination trap, stop and take a moment to check in with yourself. Listen to your internal guidance system like Zen suggested, and trust that you navigate through it. And like I mentioned, if you haven't listened to the previous episode 67, go ahead and listen to that episode right after this episode so that you can understand better what I mean by opening and closing and how you can tune into your internal guidance system. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with your friend. And if you haven't already, go to the show note and grab the free guide to unlock 5 steps to transform your life. And if you are interested in learning more about this internal guidance system, I highly recommend checking out Zen's website and her book. Until next time, keep shining.